And next, I'm excited for you to hear a surprising behind-the-scenes story from Whitney Schmerber of ShadowMachine.
It's November 28th, 2018, and the first person is hired at ShadowMachine to work on Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, a film that's already been 10 years in the making at this point. Guillermo says in his words that this has to be the greatest stop-motion animation film of all time. No pressure. The main portion of the build and shoot would happen at our ShadowMachine Northwest location in Portland, Oregon. Our production partners were Tala del Tucho in Guadalajara, McKinnon & Saunders in Manchester, Standing Figure in South Carolina, Mr. X, aka MPC, BotFX, and Amidst in Canada and India. The art department is made up of an exceptional group of artists. This team came together from a diverse background of careers and range of work. With the team complete and hired, the world creation began. Art department is responsible for the design and fabrication of the physical assets in the world around the puppets, from the workbench in the workshop to the full Romanesque ruins in the carnival. Each asset is carefully designed and constructed to create the faceted world of the film. Back at ShadowMachine, we're busy at work reviewing the script, starting designs, puppet sculpts. Autodesk ShotGrid gets populated with everything from the upload of the very first sketch to the final finished shot. We use it through the entire process of making the film. On May 14th, 2019, concept art began on the interior church. This is the first of 99 individual sets, 12,000 set parts, and 7 vehicles, all made by hand by the 54 team members of the art department. As art department production manager, I set the fabrication schedule so that every single asset is ready on time for the shoot, as well as navigate the complex, ever-changing schedule and show needs while working to maintain our studio culture of openness, honesty, and transparency. In January, 6 months after the start of the build, the church is delivered and ready for the shoot. We started shooting on January 6th of 2020, and a week later, the first shot of the film was approved, and we were ecstatic. We knew we had something really special. But we were also very aware of a very real threat on the horizon. On March 21st of 2020, fearing for the safety of our team, we sent everybody home. But we knew if we stopped working on this movie, there was a really good chance that it was never going to start up again. The art team grabbed all the materials and tools and design reference that they needed to stay busy for 2 weeks, which gave me time to figure out our communication systems and workflows and get them up and running to facilitate the needs of a fully remote fabrication team. So everybody grabbed their things, got set up at home, settled into this new way of working, and stayed connected. Gantt charts were altered so they reflected each team member's tasks. That meant one line for every single asset that each fabricator was working on. This completely blew out our schedules. But we were able to ensure that it was sustainable. We were able to look at each individual's workload and ensure that it was not only reasonable, but that it also helped support what was happening in their lives. Technology supported our humanity. Teams would join video calls and leave their mics open so that they could talk freely, as though we were all in the studio again. We saw each other at our worst, most desperate and scared. Technology at its best brings us together, and both ShotGrid and video chat technology was key to our creative process during this time. Technology supported our humanity. Each of the 27 buildings used in the exterior village sets traveled to at least 4 team members' personal homes during lockdown in order to be completed. All assets needed to quarantine for 24 hours to 2 weeks, depending on the material that was used, according to the guidelines at the time. It's complicated. but we tracked it all in ShotGrid. Our survival during this time would not have been possible without Netflix. They understood that people shouldn't have to choose between their physical health and work. They paid the full wages of crew who were out due to COVID, or who were out because they were taking care of loved ones with COVID. They weren't just a producer, though, they were part of the family. The faith they had in us during a time of complete and utter chaos was inspiring. It renewed our passion for the project. Facing the unknowns of returning to the studio a couple months later, we continued to worry about the safety in this new transition. Netflix hired an in-house nurse who administered COVID tests and saw to any health concerns in the studio. An on-site therapist was brought in to help support crew as they were coming back and getting used to the workplace again. Without Netflix's support, we would not have been able to complete this film. But most importantly, without Netflix, every single one of our lives would look completely different right now, and we are forever grateful to them. Art is therapy. Art brings people together, but it requires vulnerability not only from the creator, but also from the audience. From the thousands of individual pine needles glued to Pinocchio noses, no joke, one at a time, to the curve of the road outside the carnival, we poured all of our emotion, our passion, into every single moment of this project. Our studio culture of psychological safety really helped us during this time. We had the tools to talk about what we were experiencing, the willingness to ask for help, and the technology to keep us created. Work became our safe place. I had team members that would come in the next day after a loved one had passed because they just wanted to be seen and heard and be part of something bigger than themselves, a distraction from the world around them. Everybody talked about their own reality of grief. We knew everything about each other, every single struggle, because we craved connection. And we all had Pinocchio, this common goal, a story that needed to be told. It was our story. Every single person leaned in. Work should facilitate life. Employees who are seen and heard with workloads customized to their individual needs shows the desire for that employee to remain at the company. They're also invested in the success of the company as a whole. Pinocchio wanted to be real. He wanted to be alive in a world where everyone around him was becoming puppets to Mussolini. He wanted to belong. He wanted to be seen. He wanted to be heard and understood. But most of all, he wanted unconditional love. Love from his father, love from the world around him. And we wanted that too. After 13 weeks of improvised workflows, we returned to the studio 12 months behind. With new deadlines, we got to work. The puppet team built 230 puppets for the film. At the peak of production, we had 40 animators working across 55 shooting units. The animator weekly average output was 3.8 seconds a week. Wrap your head around that. Our first post-shutdown shot was approved on June 26th of 2020. The film was delivered to Netflix on November 4th of 2022, about a year later than we'd originally planned. And then we waited. In December of 2022, Pinocchio started streaming on Netflix. About 3.5 years from the start of fabrication, the world was seeing our movie. They were also seeing the product of all of our pain and our grief and our joy and our empathy and our best days and our worst days. This movie and the journey of its creation was out there for everybody to see. It was fulfilling to look back and see what we did during a time of complete and utter chaos and vulnerability. This project proved that our studio culture, our appreciation for the story, our love for each other could triumph after all, could lead us to finding a better way forward, an employee-centered way forward. It wasn't long before the nominations started to roll in. 3 BAFTAs, 9 Annies, PGA, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe. Time and time again, Best Animated Feature, Best Animated Feature, Best Animated Feature. We were in shock. And then we started winning the awards, and each one was incredible. But there was one that we were most excited about, and that was the Oscar nomination for Best Animated Feature. This is what we've been striving for all along. 3 months later, on March 12th of 2023, it was Oscar night, and all the seats in the theater were filled. And while a few people were able to attend the ceremony in person, a lot of us were at a local bar in Portland watching a live stream of the ceremony. Anticipation and nerves were running so high. The first award was presented, Best Animated Feature.
And the Oscar goes to Guillermo del Toro.
Still gives me chills. Winning that Oscar, that was a global validation of the cultural commitment that we made to ourselves as artists and to each other as humans. We had a film that reflected that commitment. Pinocchio is the story of our journey, the struggle to find unconditional love, striving through work to sustain our lives and our aspirations, being really honest in those tough moments of conflict, and really listening to each other. Decisions were made due to extraordinary circumstances, and we didn't know how it was going to turn out. We took risks because it felt like the only way forward. And although all the tools and technology helped us achieve what we did, this is a human story about vulnerability and commitment and passion and perseverance. It's a story about turning to face insurmountable odds, unprecedented events, both around the globe and here at home. It's a story about immense grief and overwhelming joy. It's a story about taking time to notice the small things, having the courage to speak up when no one else does, and standing tall for your friends. This film would not have been possible without the passion and support of the entire crew and their families. Pinocchio has changed us. It's transformed us. It's shown us a new way. We have emerged forever changed, forever hopeful, and we are ready for the challenges ahead. So what is the future of design and make? It's the people. So take the time. Thank you.